Hey there, Hail Stalkers. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. I'm meteorologist Martin Lattimore. We are looking at, once again, another day for severe weather in the northern plains and parts of the northern Rockies, and even into a little bit of the upper Great Lakes. That high pressure still being a bit finicky right now, kind of keeping all of those storms out of the south. So let's talk about what we're going to be seeing for your weather headlines for today. Things are going to be shaping up to be pretty nice, at least in some parts of the country, where we are going to be looking at a lot of these conditions getting very warm. If my clicker will actually work for me. We actually going to be able to go? There we go. So yeah, we are looking at a hail threat today that is going to be mainly up in toward, again, the upper Rockies, so Montana, Idaho, that region there, and the upper Great Lakes. So only at a level 1 risk for today, but we are seeing more kicking in as we head into tomorrow. We're actually going to the other side of the country, eastern coast of the country. We are seeing most of them as a wind threat for tomorrow, but there is a little bit of a hail threat there as well, so we'll talk about that as well. But the big thing for this next week or so is going to be these multi-day severe weather risks that's going to be heading into the country starting on Monday. Now, we are still looking at maybe an all hazards risk as of right now, so it is something to watch for as we do get into our next work week. So let's take a look at what we've already seen so far yesterday, and we'll get into your forecast coming in just the next few minutes. So 24-hour storm reports, 2 areas of note that we actually saw. This nice little burst came through across Canada. This little system had a lot of wind reports across from Maine all the way up into New York, and this continued its way. Several wind reports were seen across the entirety of the New England area, so there's a lot of impacts there. Not any hail, though. Staying mostly just as a wind risk there. The hail was actually out toward Montana, where they had several reports of 1.5. I think there was a golf ball size report in there, but also there was a storm that made its way through North Dakota, had several tornado reports associated with it. Didn't get into Bismarck, luckily, but we did see several tornado reports in rural North Dakota along with it. By the time it got over to Billings, it did transition to almost fully a wind threat for that afternoon and overnight. So several wind reports, a couple hail reports on your Friday, and we are going to be seeing more of the same. Montana's kind of been terrorized by these low-level severe weather threats over the past couple of days. Current conditions, you can see this high pressure all the way across the south. There is still some rain across areas of Texas. Luckily, this has shifted away from San Antonio, so not dealing directly with that threat as of right now. But as we continue, that will make its way into more western parts of the country, where they will be luckily getting a bit of a break from the rain in San Antonio, where they've had enough already. Across the East Coast, again, a couple showers over that high pressure system right there. We're continuing to watch mainly just for those storms up north. Temperatures are pretty warm. Got Minneapolis at 90, Billings at 78 degrees, Boise's 87. Whew, it is warm out there. Oklahoma City, Dallas, a little bit cooler, at least retrospectively, sitting at 88 in Dallas, 79 in Oklahoma City. But as we get into the next several days, again, we're talking about these severe risks. No really big changes with these severe risks from this morning. Again, Idaho, Montana, this is pretty familiar territory that they've had for the past couple of days. We did add a little bit of a Great Lake hail risk going from almost Minneapolis down toward past Marquette and even into Traverse City. And then there is a risk for seeing more of these storms as this high pressure. You can actually pretty much see where this high pressure is centered right now. And we can see, again, severe risk, severe risk, severe risk. That's where the outskirts of this high pressure is going to be. Moving into tomorrow, though, that's where we're looking for probably our biggest risk for this weekend. This is a pretty large level 2 risk right here all across the eastern seaboard. A lot of people under this. We're talking Indianapolis, we got Columbus, we got Cincinnati, Washington, D.C., New York, Boston's on the outskirts of it, Buffalo, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. A lot of these big cities are under this severe risk. Now, when we get into it, it is mostly a wind risk, but I'll dive a little bit deeper into what we can be expecting out of that in just a few minutes. For your Sunday, that risk kind of trends southward into the Carolinas, getting a little bit of Virginia. Once again, still seeing more of those lower end severe risks across the northern Great Lakes and northern plains. We get into our Monday though. This new shortwave right here, this is going to be the next focal point. This is the beginning of that severe weather outbreak we were talking about. Now, as of right now, it's still only that level 1 risk for right now. I imagine this will be a level 2 risk by the time we get into tomorrow, especially as we get into the other side of this weekend. But this is covering a good population center. Again, Minneapolis, Chicago, you're seeing a lot of that risk. I'll get the hiccups right now. This is moving its way into the Ohio River Valley come Tuesday and eventually making its way into the Carolinas again in the lower part of the mid-Atlantic. And eventually it will sweep its way off into the Atlantic by our Thursday. So many areas are going to be covered by this shortwave. It's going to be moving through. And I'll tell you just about this the reason about this shortwave in just a bit. So high pressure beginning kind of not really degrading, kind of just what we call retrograding. Basically, it's going against the general west to east flow. It's going to eventually be shifting off into the west. So this low pressure, this shortwave right here, is going to be forming as we get into that Monday, causing more of these storms to fire up again across parts of the Great Lakes. That shortwave continuing to trend southward. There it is right there. And as this high pressure kind of moves over to the west coast and really just influencing the Rockies, this right here will be swinging its way down, bringing in that shortwave right here. These lines, a lot of these lines very close to each other. That is what you're looking for that severe weather risk as we head into the next part of our week. What about Atlanta? You actually are looking at a risk for today. I'll give you a breakdown of your risks in just a second because we are actually looking at Atlanta to see some of those severe weather risks, especially going to be your winds. So we'll get into that in just a second, so don't go anywhere. But again, this low pressure system bringing in a lot of these storms into our Wednesday and Thursday. That will be influenced as we head into our Thursday. That should push off that severe weather risk before this high pressure begins to rebound as we head into our next weekend. So wind forecast right now, again, telling you about Atlanta. Again, we're looking at mainly that wind risk right now, but this is a large wind risk that's got Indianapolis, Knoxville, Atlanta, Jacksonville, even into parts of Gainesville. You got probably Lexington included in there as well. Columbus, you're just on the outskirts of this risk. So this is for Friday. We're kind of just seeing the outskirts of this high pressure system where a lot of this environment is ready to just, give us a storm or two. So a lot of this area, a couple scattered storms are going to be possible, and that does include Atlanta for today. Moving a bit further north, we got the UP of Michigan, a little bit of Minneapolis included there as well. We got northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin, and a little bit of Minnesota. Again, another risk for Idaho and Montana. You guys are just getting a lot of it the past couple of days. It will be coming to an end once that high pressure moves back to the west, so enjoy the storms while you can. You got Butte, Great Falls, Twin Falls, all in this risk for today. Our tornado forecast pretty much limited to just the UP of Michigan and a little bit of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So there is the tornado risk. It's only a level 1 risk, but still it's there. So you know it can happen. Forecasted max hail size, though, we're keeping it at ping pong ball. We did have one golf ball size hail report yesterday, but I think it's going to be tough to get golf ball or higher today. We're just not looking at that good, we call lapse rates. And that's really is what indicative of the hail size. Not too impressive, so I think ping pong is going to be your maximum hail size for today. I don't want to get your hopes up. All right, so getting to that hail forecast again, looking at over toward parts of Montana, Idaho, just an absolute sliver of Washington is included in that hail risk as well. So keep an eye on those hail storms if they do pop in, especially the first couple of storms is going to be the biggest one. We could be seeing those biggest hailstones out of Duluth, Marquette. I believe it was actually, did it have a new risk to the south? No, it didn't. I was making stuff up. I thought I saw a new risk for today. But again, we are really looking at mainly just these areas in the northern Great Lakes, around Lake Superior, and just on the northern coast of Lake Michigan as well. Surface smoke, that is going to be a big deal for today. Again, very unhealthy air across the UP, Michigan, all the way down to Pennsylvania, down to Washington, D.C. You see this purple right here. This is unhealthy air for everybody. So if you are going to be seeing this orange smoke coming in from the Canadian wildfires, keep a watch out because that is very unhealthy. Try to minimize time you're going to be outside. But also note this surface smoke is probably going to also be a limiting factor for these storms. Again, this is where that tornado risk is at. I imagine if this smoke wasn't here, that might be a level 2 tornado risk. But for today, I'm imagining we're going to have a lot of those storms get capped by surface smoke. And this is really going to be sticking around the East Coast. You can see, again, that diving down as we get into our next weekend. So a lot of smoke coming from Canada with those unfortunate wildfires. And we are seeing a lot of impacts with the air out here. Again, Chicago could be seeing some impacts, Minneapolis this weekend. So keep that in mind as you are going to be out and about for this weekend. Again, trying to minimize time outside. Future radar, watching a lot of these storms again, trying to form up again, very scattered this afternoon. They do try to get a little more widespread by the time we get to our 6 p.m. time frame, but these storms up here, that's what I'm looking for, those hailers. This right here is mostly going to be that wind threat. Once they conglomerate into these clusters, that's where you start really seeing mostly a wind threat. So coming into the afternoon, again, seeing a lot of these storms really conglomerate into these lines. You're getting that wind threat for your Friday and into your Saturday morning before they start moving out. So move a little further to the south and east. Again, very scattered storms. Now, could there be a hailer in this area? Possibly. I could see maybe a 1-inch hailstone trying to pop in somewhere here or there, but we're just not looking at the right environment to support larger hail. So I do think we could get some 1-inch, maybe lesser hail, you know, that non-damage, the annoying hail, really, not really the damaging hail, impactful hail, I should say. But again, going into the afternoon and evening, these storms kind of staying pretty scattered, but there could be a wild wind gust in there for today. Now, the one thing I do want to touch on is the flood risk. Luckily, we're going to be seeing this flood risk moving its way further west and west as time goes on. So that will luckily give our friends in San Antonio a bit of a breather. Finally going to be seeing the end of that rainfall. But also, it looks like it's monsoon season for the Mojave. You got rain chances almost every day, heavy rain chances every day through the weekend and even into your next work week. And that high pressure moving to the west will eventually be kind of pushing it away a little bit further. Hail forecast for tomorrow. We are going to be seeing a couple of those chances for hail. We got one out toward the East Coast. Does include DC, Philadelphia. Could see up to about that, $half size, maybe into ping pong size regions. But again, I say it again on a broken record, Idaho, Minnesota, not Minnesota, Montana. I am a broken record, apparently. Butte, you're going to be included there as well. Could be seeing, again, up towards to maybe golf ball size, but I think it's going to be $half. It's going to be our maximum for that hail. Wind forecast, again, kind of the same area, though we are much, much larger here. I meant to adjust this. Oh, it did adjust. What is that? I don't know what's going on. All right, wind forecast. But again, we're seeing a large swath and very high population centers in this wind risk as well. We got New York City, Boston, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Roanoke, Louisville, Indianapolis, Chicago, Columbus, Cincinnati, all of these very big cities in this wind risk. So while the hail risk is not all that prevalent, we are also seeing the best chances for that wind is going to be right here in the mid-Atlantic. So any area right here could be seeing those wind gusts getting up to 70, maybe 75 miles an hour. We're not seeing a huge high wind risk, as in getting above that 75, 80 mile an hour wind gusts, but a very large area could be seeing a lot of these storms come Saturday. There's also, again, that risk right there toward Montana and Idaho, once again, for that wind forecast. Tornado forecast is a level 2, so that's probably going to be the biggest concern for tomorrow. Again, a lot of high population areas that don't usually see tornadoes sitting in that level 2 tornado risk. So it's definitely something to watch for, again, across upstate New York, stretching in down toward NYC, and eventually in toward a lot of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, that Pennsylvania area. High pressure still trying to maintain a lot of that control, but you're seeing a lot of these cool regions. This is mainly that rain-cooled environment in the south. This high pressure is expected to really start rebounding these temperatures. You can see as we get into our Monday, the entirety of the central part of the country is now into that very warm air. Got a lot of these clashing temperatures as well. It's another one of those reasons why we're seeing that big change for a lot more of those storms coming in as we head into your first part of your work week. So keep that in mind as we are going to be watching, again, that low pressure. Look at those cool temperatures after the storms do fire through. If you're getting tired of the heat, I know a lot of you in Chicago are getting tired of the heat, so you're going to be cooling down pretty nicely into our next couple of days. So look at the future temperatures. Again, as we get into our Saturday, we're looking at very hot 90s as far north as Rapid City, Billings, Boise, all the way at those 90s. Chicago's at 88 degrees. We advance in time a little bit to our Sunday, still quite warm, 90s all the way up to Bismarck. Getting into Monday, start seeing cooler air really trying to filter in as we get into that Tuesday. Look at that, 79. Yeah, it's still pretty warm in Chicago, but 79 in Detroit, 66 in Portland, Maine. Yeesh. That's not good. I don't like that. John likes that, but I don't like it. 106 in Oklahoma City. That's gross. That's gross. Again, Wednesday, seeing a lot of these temperatures. Look at that. Detroit 68, Chicago 70, Dallas at 108. I apologize. I'm sorry about that. That is, whew. Again, summer is here. We could be seeing those triple digits across areas that are really heavily impacted by that low pressure or high pressure system later this next week. But areas that are not going to be seeing that really could be seeing cooler temperatures out toward the Great Lakes after the storms do roll through this coming work week. So there we go. Future radar. We're kind of doing the wide view right here. Again, we got those chances for storms across the East Coast and along the Great Basin region. Large areas, see a lot of these lines of storms. That's where that wind threat's coming in. The tornado threat is there as well, those embedded tornadoes. So keep a watch out for those storms, especially as we get into the late night. Now, luckily the hail risk, or unfortunately the hail risk is not going to be all that big with these storms conglomerating to the lines almost immediately. So we're not going to be seeing a huge hail risk there. But as we get into our Sunday, we're going to watch as these storms eventually scoot off. And there's that low pressure, that shortwave, bringing in those storms coming Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It is going to be that next severe weather risk. So looking at the temperature outlook, exactly like we were talking about, much cooler air across the Great Lakes and the surrounding Northeast, very warm everywhere else. Looking at the temperatures, it's pretty obvious. Looking at the precipitation, also pretty obvious as we see a lot of these rain showers conglomerating across the eastern seaboard. As that high pressure eventually scoots its way back into the center part of the country, you're going to start getting more of that rain across the western Rockies. So it's going to be a pretty busy next couple of days across the country. One last look at the severe weather outlook in case you missed it. A couple scattered chances for storms across the country outside that high pressure system. Looking at ourselves a wind risk across that Saturday with a tornado risk and a small hail risk, or a small area for a hail risk. That's really mainly around the New York and Washington, D.C. region for those initial outbursts of storms. Continuing to see that wind risk falling down toward the Carolinas. Meanwhile, we got that new shortwave that's going to be moving its way through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This will be impacting a lot of the population centers again. More likely, it probably will be a wind risk, but we could see some hail and tornadoes out of it as well. And it's not going to be out of here until at least our Thursday. So East Coast, you're getting quite a few storms over the next couple of days. John, before we wrap anything up, any weather questions? No weather questions. All right. Well, hey, we're all relaxing here on a Friday. John is relaxing. Have you done anything today, John? Nope. John's done nothing. But you know what? John's always here to help us produce, but it's always been a good time. All right, guys, if you're going to want anything else from us, you can always follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're everywhere. We're always posting. And if you're interested in maybe getting yourself a hail map or a wind map, tornado map, we're not just HailTrace. We're Wind Trace and Tornado Trace. We do that as well. So if you want to be interested in a hail map, we've got our people here in the office today, 855-334-4245 if you're interested in getting a hail map. Or you can just always email us or go to our website. You can get a preview actually of all of our maps that we have. www.com. That's not even a website. www.hailtrace.com/hail-maps. That will give you a little bit of a preview of the maps before you actually can purchase them. So we're going to be wrapping it up here, guys. Hope you have a good rest of your Friday. We'll more than likely be back on Monday. We might actually pop in this weekend if we do see significant severe weather, especially maybe the hail risk starts ticking upwards on our Saturday. So we're going to be wrapping it up here, guys. We'll see you Monday, same time, same place.